leads into another interesting topic, which for whatever reason, there's been much debate about this in the offseason, about which division in the NFL is the best right now, right? And obviously, this is super early, so I should reserve the right to alter my pick and alter which division I believe is the toughest as the season progresses. But there are really only three divisions that are even in this discussion at all: the NFC West, the AFC East, and the AFC North. This is like when you talk about the greatest basketball players in the NBA, right? Regardless of the order that you have these guys in, you think about Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, Wilt, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? These guys are in a class by themselves. They can really only sit at the table. Maybe you throw in Shaq with his dominance, but even Larry Bird, who's great, isn't in this conversation, right? Oscar Robertson and Jerry West are great. Even they're not in this conversation. There are only a couple guys that really have a seat at the table. And so when you look at the NFL and the divisions, those three divisions, the NFC West, AFC East, and the AFC North, are really the only divisions that legitimately have a seat at this table in this conversation. Here's the problem: the NFC West is by far, the best division in the NFL. And here's why. You look at the AFC East, I will acknowledge Buffalo, tremendous team. Patriots, a really good team. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And even the Miami Dolphins, while I'm not a full believer in them to reach the postseason, they've got a legitimate shot. They're a really good team. So those three teams are good. The Jets, while they're improving, are still atrocious. You look at the AFC North. Okay, Pittsburgh Steelers, good team. Browns, a tremendous team, a Super Bowl contender. Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson, a Super Bowl contender. Cincinnati Bengals, not great. Both of those teams have at least both of those divisions have at least one drastically inferior opponent in their division. And the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow's coming off a torn ACL. Yes, he has Jamar Chase, but I thought that they needed help on the offensive line. Their defense needs a lot of work. So the Bengals, yes, they've got a promising future with Burrow and Chase, but they need more help. They're inferior. You look at the NFC West, there is a legitimate argument to be made that all four teams could make the postseason. Obviously, the NFL expanded the wild card, or rather, they added one extra wild card spot, and they instead removed a bye week for the second seed. Only the number one overall seed in each conference receives a bye week in the first round of the playoffs. So that's 7 teams. Let's take a look for a minute. You look at, first of all, the Seattle Seahawks. This is a team that went 12-4 last year. They won the division last year. They re-signed Carlos Dunlap. Jamal Adams is still there on the defensive side of the ball. Russell Wilson, of course, anytime you have Russell Wilson, you've got a tremendous shot. With him, they've reached the postseason in 8 of his 9 seasons in the NFL. And the one season they didn't make the postseason was in 2017, and he still led them to a winning record, 9-7. The Seattle Seahawks have never had a losing record with Russell Wilson at the helm. That's how fantastic he's been. You re-sign Tyler Lockett, so he's happy. DK Metcalf, you signed Gerald Everett from the Rams, a really talented tight end. I think that he was kind of an underappreciated component of that team. Seattle Seahawks are really good. The LA Rams, sure, their defense and their secondary took a hit, losing John Johnson III, losing Troy Hill, but you still have Darius Williams, you still have Jalen Ramsey, you still have Aaron Donald, you re-sign Leonard Floyd, so the defense is still pretty good, and you make a massive upgrade with Matthew Stafford at the quarterback position in the trade with the Lions to send Jared Goff to Detroit. So the Rams are going to be right there with Sean McVay and that coaching staff. Then you look at the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals, sure, it's a little bit harder for them, but even they're a real difficult out. They finished 8-8 last year and barely missed the cutoff for the postseason. They just missed it behind the Chicago Bears. But Kyler Murray is still improving. You go sign J.J. Watt this offseason. You bring in A.J. Green. This is a really, really talented team. So the defense is going to be better. Yes, you lost Patrick Peterson, but the defense is going to be astronomically better. You sign Malcolm Butler again, or not again, but you sign him to buffer that secondary. So the defense is going to be better. The offense is going to be improved. So the Cardinals, I could see them going 9-8, and again making a run for one of those final spots. And then you have the San Francisco 49ers, of course, who, yes, they missed the postseason last year. They were 6-10 last year, but they were ravaged by injuries. Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt with the high ankle sprain. George Kittle didn't play. Nick Bosa tore his ACL. Solomon Thomas, who's no longer on the team, but was a defensive back for the defensive end for him, he also tore his ACL. Fred Warner and Eric Armstead missed significant time. You were using Nick Mullins as the backup quarterback, or Nate Sudfeld for different stretches of the season. So now all those guys are coming back. This is first a Rams team that just reached the Super Bowl 3 years ago. Now you look at the 49ers, who just reached the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and that was with pretty much the same roster, but a healthier version. So Jimmy G's coming back, Kittle's coming back, Bosa's coming back, Warner, Armstead, they're all back. Emmanuel Mosley is healthy in the secondary for the 49ers. I really like their draft. Trey Lance, they made the right pick. When it came to him or Mac Jones, that was the right pick to me. I like Trey Sermon, who they got, the running back who was initially for Oklahoma, transferred as a graduate senior to Ohio State. They drafted him in the 3rd round. And in Kyle Shanahan's offensive system, running backs thrive. And I expect Trey Sermon to actually play a pivotal role for the 49ers next year. So legitimately, there are 4 teams in that division that could all reach the postseason. It is not inconceivable for those 4 teams in the NFC West to make the postseason, and then the division leaders from the other 3 divisions in the NFC to also make it. There's your 7. There's your 7 right there. So, to me, I don't even think it's close between the AFC East, AFC North, and the NFC West. I mean, the NFC West is a gauntlet, yet each one of those teams could easily finish with a winning record. Seahawks could easily go 12-5 next year. The Rams could go 11-6. Cardinals could go 9-8. 49ers could go 12-5 or 11-6. So when you've got this much depth in one division, certainly makes it fun for inter-division, inter-league, or intra-league, rather, type of competition. So it'll be fun to watch.